It's practically impossible for a fighting game to both have a diverse roster and a perfectly balanced cast. The KOF series is home to a very diverse cast of characters, and in KOF 2002 UM, there are over 60 playable characters. As such, there are bound to be better and worse characters. That being said, today I will be talking about a very specific character. The character in question is not the best character in the game, but it is a top tier. And the reason I wanted to show off this character is because I think it's potentially the easiest to play top tier in KOF history. While a few characters are stronger in this game, they are all substantially more difficult in my opinion. And if you're a 2002 UM player, you probably know who this character is. But if not, be prepared. And that character is Kasumi. So the first thing I'll really cover is her movement. Now, to be honest, her movement really isn't the best. It's okay, it's fairly average, but she has a slightly slower jump. But overall, her movement's fine. It's not good or bad, particularly. Next up is ground normals. Most of her ground normals are actually relatively lackluster, to be honest. Her fastest ground normal is Crouch B at frame 4, and it is a solid low for what it's worth, and it can be chained into Crouch A, which can be special cancelled. Most of her far pokes have fair range, but they're abysmally slow. Her sweep is solid at frame 7, and it's special cancelable, but it doesn't have as much range as the aforementioned slow pokes. Her standing A works fine as a standard KOF anti-hop move. Her close C is frame 5, and it's a good combo starter and a fairly good anti-air, even against jumps. But you don't want to get far C when you're trying to anti-air because it's pretty slow. Kasumi has one command normal in forward A. It's a 2-hit overhead, and at frame 18, it's actually not bad. Due to it being 2 hits, it's actually relatively easy to confirm into max mode, like so, and you can continue the combo from there. As standard for a KOF overhead, when it's cancelled into, it's faster, and thus it combos from heavy attacks such as close C, but it loses its overhead properties, and also becomes cancelable itself, as you can see here. So it's a very great combo tool to use after close C. Next up, let's cover specials. A quarter circle forward and punch. It creates a projectile-like wave in front of her. It controls a pretty large space in front of her, so it's a pretty good spacing tool, but it doesn't have a great vertical hitbox, and so it's not a great anti-air, and it's susceptible to jump-ins. The light version is a frame faster, and it's better on block, and they seem to have, both versions seem to have about the same hitbox, so I'm not entirely sure why you would use the heavy one ever. The light version is always plus on block too, making it extremely powerful even on block. It's fast enough to combo from her heavy attacks, and from her cancelled command overhead. But due to its damage, it's generally not considered her best combo ender. Overall, due to these properties, it's a pretty decent neutral option because it covers so much space and it's plus on block, and it's a good option after they start blocking because you're plus. But she has a lot better combo tool. On top of this, the special can also be performed in the air. As you can see, no matter what jump arc she has, it halts her momentum completely and she drops straight down. It can also be done out of backdash as well. And what this does is it makes it extremely powerful and potent preemptive anti-air, an anti-approach option in general. On top of this, you can use it offensively as a DP bait, because if someone's DP will reach you when you do a standard jump in, it probably won't reach you if you halt your air momentum partway through the jump. And in fact, it's so good that some DPs will miss, and then Kasumi will actually hit them as they're flying upwards with this special. Kasumi has a couple of counter special moves. The first one is half circle forward and kick. There's two versions. The B version is an anti-air counter. Like so. And the D version is a grounded counter, which is mostly a mid counter. Like so. And as you can see there, you can use it against guard cancel attack. It counters mostly mid attacks, but the thing about these counters is, about the D counter, is it's not actually dependent on whether or not a move is a low. For example, it won't counter Iori's crouch B, but it will actually counter his crouch D because even though they're both low attacks, his crouch D is considered has a higher hitbox, as you can see here. She has a low counter by pressing down, down, and kick. Both versions seem to be about the same. They both counter true low attacks and any move that hits her lower body, such as crouch A's. These counters are overall okay. The anti-air counter is a solid anti-air, but the other ones require a lot of guesswork for what your opponent's doing, so I wouldn't personally recommend them. Kasumi's quarter circle back kick is a grounded uppercut special. It has some auto guard on startup, and allowing it to be used as a pretty effective anti-air. The B version is 2 frames faster, but has less auto guard. It is 2 hits, and it's super cancelable on either hit, but only the first hit really seems to juggle into the super, and even then it's spacing dependent and not very consistent, so I wouldn't ever recommend doing it. You can use it in some juggles, especially in the corner. You can use the heavy version in some grounded combos. However, it can be a little unreliable if you do certain routes. And you're better off using different combo enders. The last special I want to talk about is her Rekkas. Performed with quarter circle back punch, it's a 3-part Rekka. Both versions are about the same, but this Rekka is completely absurd. It combos from both heavy and lights, giving her a strong low confirm. Despite being 3 inputs, you might notice the Rekka is 4 hits. The first input actually performs a 2-hit string. On block, the whole string does a sizable amount of guard damage and a decent amount of chip. On top of that, the final Rekka is only -7 and pushes back quite a bit, so it makes it impossible for most characters to punish. Overall, this is one of her preferred combo enders because it has a lot of range and combos after pretty much anything. On top of this, Kasumi's Rekka actually builds a ton of meter on block or on hit, so just watch how much meter she builds here. Now on to supers. Kasumi has a counter super, and it's better than her special counters as it seems to counter almost anything, removing the need to guess what type of attack your opponent's using. As you can see, it counters mids, highs, and lows. Since Kasumi has no DP, it's a fairly decent tool at helping her deal with meaties and pressure, but it does cost 1 bar. Kasumi's other super is performed by double quarter circle forward and punch. The light version is fast enough to combo from heavies, while the heavy version is slightly delayed. This delay allows it to combo properly in her proximity unblockable super cancels. Not only can Kasumi raw confirm into her super from her proximity unblockable, she can also combo into her proximity unblockable and then combo it into super, so she can score massive damage. One little note that if you're a newer KOF player, you might not know, in KOF 2002 UM and the original 2002, super canceling from specials actually costs 2 bars, as you can see. While raw supers or supers canceled from normals only cost 1 bar. That being said, her super cancel from her proximity unblockable does so absurdly high damage, spending the 2 bars is often worth it. Kasumi has 1 EX super, which is an upgraded version of her counter super. Unfortunately, since her normal counter super already counters all attacks, there's not really much reason to use the X version, as while it does do more damage, it costs 3 whole bars when done raw. That being said, you can make it cost 2 bars if you activate max mode and then perform it. But if you raw activate max mode, your opponent might know that you're looking for the counter. Kasumi's max 2 is an upgraded version of her wave super. As a max 2 in this game, it costs 3 whole bars, and it can only be done when your life is 30% or lower. Like EX supers, it only costs 1 bar plus all the rest of your max gauge in max mode, so it can be done as low as 2 bars, but you would have to activate raw max mode. The super does do quite a lot of damage, but unfortunately it's a little bit slow and it won't work in grounded hit confirms. Not only that, but being a max 2, it's actually not cancelable from specials, even in max mode. This super also has a anywhere juggle property, so you can actually combo into it from a ground or air CD. Being an anywhere juggle also means that it has OTG properties. Unfortunately, Kasumi doesn't have many hard knockdowns to take advantage of this, and her only hard knockdown that I know of is her counter super, and she doesn't have nearly enough advantage to get this super off. As you can see here, this setup is rollable. Furthermore, even her air CD into max 2 is rollable for the most part, unless you get a super deep connect CD. As you can see there, I got it, but it's a little bit tricky both to actually perform, even if you know it's going to hit, but even harder to hit confirm into it, so it can be a little tricky to use. This move does have one guaranteed setup that I can think of that's not the super low air CD, which is in the corner, her light proximity and block roll. It does lose some hits, but it does a significant amount of damage, and for 3 bars, it's significantly more damage than her 2-bar route in the corner because it loses a lot more damage. Now, you may have noticed something. When I went over her moves, I skipped something. I skipped her air normals. I wanted to save the best for last, because air normals are what make Kasumi truly scary. First, her air punch normals. They're not terrible, but they're not very good either. They honestly have really no use in her toolkit. Her jump B is pretty solid. It has nice horizontal range, making it a good air-to-air, and it has a pretty decent vertical hitbox, making it a decent jump-in, as it will even hit crouchers. It can't cross up very well. Overall, it seems her air B is a pretty solid air normal. It would have high use on pretty much every other character. Unfortunately for this move, it's on Kasumi. And Kasumi has an air normal that completely trumps this move, her jump D. First of all, it has an absurd air-to-air hitbox, having a ton of priority. Iori's jump B, for the record, is a pretty solid air-to-air itself, and historically a really solid air-to-air. But watch this. As you can see, no matter what timing I throw out on the Iori jump B, Kasumi's air D pretty much beats it outright in every situation except for that one weird case. It beats things cleanly like Kyo jump D or Iori jump B, both very good air-to-airs, and it sometimes even beats things like Benimaru jump D, which is historically one of the best air-to-airs ever in KOF. That being said, its startup is a little bit slower than a lot of other air-to-air normals, so if your opponent's really close to you, or if they hit their button first, they might be able to beat you out. Now, initially you might think, so what, it's a good air-to-air normal. Well, it's also one of the best jump-ins ever made. It has an extremely low hitbox that allows it to even hit super low crouches super consistently. For the record, Choi is the lowest croucher in the game, and it hits him super consistently. Not only that, but it has a horrendous amount of active frames if done from a jump. If done from a hop, it has a relatively low amount of active frames in comparison and won't clip crouches unless you time it just a tad late. If you do it too early, you'll get this. But from a jump, it is absurdly active. I'm going to activate the normal from way up here, near the peak of my jump, and it still clips Choi. This is unheard of. This means, well, other characters, they'll have to jump and guess if you want to meet them air-to-air, or if they want to jump in. Kasumi doesn't have to do that. She can press the button super early, and it'll beat most air-to-air situations, and it'll hit even crouchers. Oh, and did I mention that it crosses up? Not only does it cross up, but it's one of the easiest KOF cross-ups to hit. In my opinion, KOF cross-ups are a little bit tricky to hit, but this one's dead easy. You can see at various ranges it will cross up. That being said, one could argue taking advantage of its high active frames is disadvantageous as a jump-in because if you hit them super high, you won't be able to pick up a combo after, and they'll be at frame advantage. However, this actually doesn't matter because it's special cancelable. Therefore, even if you do it super early to catch both air-to-air and air-to-ground, you can cancel it into her air special, and it will either combo like so, or if it doesn't combo, they'll block it, and you'll be roughly even, and with a ton of pushback, making it extremely, extremely safe and annoying to deal with. Not only that, but you can cancel it on cross-up as well, and it will still combo. Overall, all of this makes Kasumi's Jump D one of the most oppressive air normals in KOF history. I can't think of a single air normal that even comes close, besides maybe Chris Jump CD, but even then I would argue Kasumi's Jump D is far superior. It air-to-airs, it air-to-grounds, it hits low crouchers. Even at high connect you get a combo and knockdown. If the combo doesn't work, it's safe. There's just literally nothing that this air normal can't do, pretty much. But now let's take a look at some of her basic combos.
復習復習手帳なんか見るなあなんで頑張っていきますお願いします
So what really makes Kasumi the easiest top tier? Well, she wins neutral for almost free with her Jump D and her Wave special, builds meter super quickly with her Rekkas, drains your guard quickly with Air CD and Rekkas, and uses meter both easily and efficiently with ways to score big damage from highs, lows, or her proximity unblockable. While she might not be the best character in KOF 2002 UM, she certainly is the most rewarding considering the amount of time you have to invest in her compared to the other top tiers. So that about wraps it up for this video. This video is heavily inspired by Bafael and his Street Fighter Bad Balance videos, and special thanks to uselessappellation for the thumbnail. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.